Words are not just sounds, they are seeds. Every sentence you speak plants a future in your mind. Speak fear and you shrink. Speak power and you rise. History remembers the bold not just for their actions, but for the words they lived by. In this video, we're diving into the kind of words that didn't just motivate, they transformed lives. Words that became mantras, compasses, and blueprints for greatness. Because when spoken with belief, words become reality. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. These timeless words by Carl Jung strike deep at the soul of human transformation. They are not just motivational, they are revolutionary. In one sentence, they separate the person you were from the person you have the power to become. Most people go through life shackled to their past, haunted by regrets, defined by trauma, and limited by the labels society forced onto them. But these words break those chains. They remind you that you are not a product of pain, you are a product of choice. What happened to you may have shaped your path, but it doesn't have to define your destination. People who embrace this truth undergo an inner rebirth. They stop seeing themselves as victims of circumstance and begin to see themselves as authors of their future. This shift in mindset is not easy. It requires courage, because it's easier to blame the world for your wounds than it is to rise and heal them. But the moment you say, "I am what I choose to become," you reclaim your power. You draw a line in the sand and say, "My past ends here. My new life begins now." These words have pulled people from the edge, survivors of abuse, recovering addicts, the broken-hearted, the betrayed, people abandoned, discarded, and doubted. They heard these words in their lowest moments, and something inside them ignited, because for the first time they realized that what happened to them didn't have the final word. They did. These words gave them a mirror, not to reflect the scars, but to reflect the strength they'd buried beneath them. You see, transformation begins when identity shifts, when you stop saying, "I am broken," and start saying, "I am rebuilding." When you stop saying, "I am weak," and begin declaring, "I am becoming stronger." Every step forward becomes an act of rebellion against the past. Every disciplined action, every healed wound, every chosen response becomes proof that you are not what hurt you, you are what you do next. This is not denial. This is not pretending like the pain didn't happen. It's deeper than that. It's understanding that pain is part of the story, but not the end of it. The same fire that tried to burn you can forge you. The same heartbreak that shattered you can shape your purpose. The same rejection that hurt you can redirect you toward greatness. All it takes is belief. One bold choice. One moment where you say, "I choose who I become." So say it. Live it. Breathe it. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. Let these words be your armor and your anthem. Not just something you read, but something you become. Every day. 2. Do it scared. There's a reason these 3 simple words, "do it scared," have become a mantra for game changers. They don't promise safety. They don't wait for confidence. They throw you into the battlefield with shaking hands and a pounding heart, and still say go. Why? Because fear is not the enemy, paralysis is. And courage is not a lack of fear, it is choosing motion while fear still grips your chest. Look around at the greatest stories of change. The entrepreneur who left a stable job to follow a crazy idea. The single mom who stood up and rebuilt her life from scratch. The person who stepped on stage despite crippling anxiety. They weren't superhuman. They weren't fearless. They did it scared. And that decision changed their life. Because action, despite fear, is the birthplace of transformation. Most people wait for confidence. They say, "Once I'm ready, I'll start." But the truth is, readiness is a myth. The moment will never be perfect. You'll never feel completely secure. And that's exactly why Do It Scared matters. It tells you to start before you're prepared. To speak before your voice stops shaking. To step out while your knees are still trembling. Because the doing is what builds the bravery, not the other way around. These 3 words destroy the lie of perfection. Too many dreams die waiting for the right mood, the right plan, the right time. But Do It Scared reminds you that the door only opens when you knock, even with trembling hands. It removes the need for approval. It silences the inner critic. It focuses not on how you feel, but on what you choose to do. And that's where power lives, in action. Real growth begins where comfort ends. And stepping into fear is proof that you are evolving. The scared version of you, taking that first step, is stronger than the confident version who never moves. Because fear tests your will. It strips away ego and reveals what matters most, your why. And if your why is strong enough, you will move, even afraid. This mindset has started businesses. It's launched YouTube channels, written best-selling books, built global movements. Not because the people behind them had it all figured out, but because they acted anyway, scared, unsure, vulnerable, but committed. So the next time fear whispers, "You're not ready," you whisper back, "Maybe not, but I'm going anyway." Because every giant leap begins with a scared step. And when you do it scared, you tell the world and yourself that fear will never control your future again. This is not recklessness. This is bravery. The raw, imperfect kind. The kind that changes lives. So let fear ride with you if it must, but never let it drive. You lead, you move, you do it scared. 3. This is not how my story ends. These 8 words are not just a phrase. They are a war cry, a rebellion against giving up, a quiet whisper in the darkness that refuses to be silenced. This is not how my story ends is what people say when they're hanging by a thread, but still holding on. It's what someone tells themselves when everything around them says you've failed, and they answer back, not yet, I'm not done. This sentence has saved lives. It's been the lifeline for the person staring at rock bottom, wondering if it's worth continuing. And in that moment, this thought comes like oxygen to drowning lungs. It breathes hope into hopeless places. Because when you say these words, you claim authorship over your life. You refuse to let one bad chapter define the entire book. Everyone has breaking points, moments where the weight feels unbearable. Maybe it's a loss, a betrayal, a failure, or a mental battle no one else can see. But in that space you are presented with a choice. Either accept that this is it, or declare that it's not. And those who choose the second option, who dare to believe in a future not yet seen, become unbreakable, not because they avoided pain but because they outlived it. This is not how my story ends is a turning point. It's the moment you stop seeing yourself as a victim and start writing yourself as the survivor. It's where the plot twists, where everything could have fallen apart but didn't. And when you rise from that moment, you rise with fire. Because anyone who's been that low and still chooses to rise becomes unstoppable. The world tries to put periods where only commas belong. A failed business? That's not the end. A broken relationship? Not the end. A depression relapse? Not the end. You are still breathing. That means your story is still being written. And that means you get to decide what comes next. Maybe it's slow, maybe it's messy, but it's yours, and it's not over. What makes this phrase powerful is not just hope, it's decision. You don't just hope things will get better, you decide they must. You commit to living long enough to see the next sunrise. You promise yourself that one day, you'll look back and thank the version of you that didn't quit, that didn't settle, that kept turning the page. So if you're in the middle of a storm right now, say it out loud. This is not how my story ends. Say it until your soul believes it. Say it until your hands move again, your feet walk again, your heart loves again, because you're not here by accident, and your story still holds power. The world hasn't seen the best of you yet. 4. I was not made to stay the same. This sentence is a spiritual wake-up call, a direct challenge to every excuse you've ever made. It reminds you that stagnation is not your purpose, evolution is. You weren't born to repeat yesterday, you were born to outgrow it. I was not made to stay the same. Speaks to the truth many people ignore. Comfort kills progress, and real transformation begins the moment comfort ends. These words whisper in moments of laziness. They echo in your mind when you skip the gym, when you avoid the tough conversation, when you settle for the easy route. They remind you that staying the same may feel safe, but it's the fastest way to waste your potential. You are not here to live the same day 1,000 times and call it a life. You are here to rise, to stretch, to grow, and that requires change. Growth hurts, but stagnation destroys. Think about nature. A tree never stops reaching higher. A river never stops moving forward. Why should you? Every version of you, your past self, your present self is meant to evolve. But that only happens if you choose it. If you say, I'm not settling here. These words force you to look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I growing or just existing? The most dangerous place to be is not in failure, it's in comfort. Comfort breeds complacency. It makes you believe you've done enough. It convinces you to stay quiet, to stay still, to stay the same. But nothing grows in stillness. Muscles grow through tension. Wisdom grows through mistakes. Confidence grows through discomfort. You grow by leaving behind the familiar and stepping into the unknown. This sentence has shaken people out of mediocrity. It has fueled comebacks, ignited transformations, and birthed new identities. Because when you believe you weren't made to stay the same, you no longer tolerate the habits that hold you back. You stop giving yourself permission to quit. You stop chasing comfort and start chasing your higher self. And here's the truth. The greatest version of you is already inside you, but it cannot emerge if you keep clinging to who you were. You must shed that old skin, that old story, that old identity. You must be willing to let go of comfort to meet the version of you that was buried beneath fear, doubt, and laziness. So whenever you feel stuck, say it. I was not made to stay the same. Let it push you off the couch. Let it pull you out of fear. Let it drag you through discomfort into greatness. Because change isn't just painful, it's powerful. And you were not created to remain. You were created to become. Golem to not shrive. I am becoming the person I admire. These words hold a mirror to your soul, not to judge, but to reflect your potential. I am becoming the person I admire is not just a positive affirmation, it's a declaration of direction. It shifts your mindset from envy to evolution. Instead of looking at someone else's success and feeling inadequate, you begin to say, why not me? And more importantly, what must I do to get there? This phrase transforms comparison into a compass. It stops you from just watching others live your dream and pushes you to walk toward it. It reminds you that greatness isn't something you admire from a distance, it's something you build from within. Every role model you look up to, every athlete, leader, artist, or warrior you respect, didn't wake up that way. They became, through discipline, through struggle, through choices, and so can you. When you speak these words, "I am becoming the person I admire," you tell your subconscious mind that you are already on the way. You no longer place your idols on a pedestal too high to reach. Instead, you recognize the qualities in them that you crave: courage, discipline, kindness, grit, and you begin planting those qualities in your own life, one decision at a time. This mindset destroys passivity. You stop waiting for the world to shape you. You start shaping yourself. You become intentional about your habits, your thoughts, your standards, because you realize that every small action you take today is either pushing you closer to your future self or pulling you away from it. When you admire someone's self-control, you ask yourself, am I building that today? When you admire someone's mindset, you ask, am I feeding mine with the right thoughts? It's not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming your highest self, the version of you that already exists in potential. These words make the journey personal. No longer are you living by chance. You're living by design, and that design is rooted in who you admire most and what values matter to you deeply. This belief has helped people step out of self-doubt and into self-respect. It has ended cycles of procrastination, toxic habits, and insecurity, because when you begin to identify as the person you want to become, your actions start to match that identity. You don't fake confidence, you build it. You don't copy strength, you cultivate it. You don't worship others, you grow into your own greatness. So look into the mirror, not for flaws, but for potential, and say it with your chest: I am becoming the person I admire. Let that sentence guide your discipline. Let it shape your choices. Let it remind you that the only thing between you and the life you admire is the version of you you're building right now. Words don't just describe reality, they build it. Choose your words like you're building a temple, not a cage. Speak strength, speak change, speak like your future is listening, because it is. This is Echo of Legends. Subscribe now. Speak less noise, speak more truth, and always remember, the right words can change your life,